Then we're going to move on to the struggles of young Muslimas. We're going to cover a couple of topics there. And finally, just a little chat at the end about young Muslimas and getting the work-home life balance. Now, that's going to really lead on from the program. If the sisters have been listening to, or brothers have been listening to before, young Muslimas in their career paths and how they get the home life balance. So yeah, we're going to kick it off with hijab. So Assalamu alaikum, Maimoona.
Wa alaikum salam. I hope you're all okay. I hope you're having a good Jummah.
Right, Maimoona, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What encouraged you to wear the hijab? The reason I'm asking Maimoona this is because a lot of you can relate to why you started hijab. So we thought, you know what? Nobody's really heard our story, so I thought Maimoona would be a good example. So did you wear hijab from childhood, Maimoona?
So not from childhood. I went Umrah when I was about 11, 12 years old. And you know when you go Umrah, it's just, when you come back, you feel like a different person. And I know I was quite young then, but even then I just felt like I just wanted to become better. And one of the things I said to myself, let me start wearing hijab. Like my mom used to always tell me, you know, wear hijab now, wear hijab. But at that point, I wasn't ready yet. I was too in love with my hair. But when I came back from Umrah, I was like, you know what, this is the time. Let me just start.
So you actually felt it? It wasn't somebody telling you or anything?
No.
Were your friends or cousins or any family members as young as yourself wearing hijab at the time?
Not as young as myself, but I did have a few cousins that were wearing hijab. Even at school, there were girls wearing hijab, so I think that probably helped me as well. Okay. But it was just like in my heart that, you know what, I need to start wearing hijab and this is a perfect time. Okay. And I'm not going to lie, it was hard at first because I used to love like going for my haircuts and doing my front fringe and, you know.
So you weren't one of those people, because sometimes people make comments like, oh, it's a less hassle. So for you, it wasn't.
No, at that point it wasn't,
thing.
no.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, I love my hair. But alhamdulillah, you know, as soon as I started wearing it, till this day, I've not taken it off.
Okay, that's really interesting because, you know, I went to a predominantly white school and everybody's got this impression that young girls are really groomed from a young age that they have to wear a scarf, and the moment they're baligh or, you know, straight away, you know, they up to the age of like 10, 11, they're okay, but then they have to do it. So this is something that was your own choice that you actually spiritually felt inclined to do.
And I think that is so important, like especially if any parents are listening. Obviously, we should encourage our children to wear hijab, like, you know, it's important, especially after girls are baligh. But it is important that it comes from the girl herself, because I think that's when the hijab will stick, because it's in her heart, she wants to do it. So yeah, I think that's really important.
So do you think that as a Muslim household, because the thing is, often as a society we say people are being forced to do things, but when you're part of a faith group, it's your faith, and there's certain things that you have to follow in all faiths. So in Islam, for a woman to cover her hair, is it obligatory, or is it something that's her choice? Like you're giving a lot of importance to choice here. So would you say that you would give your child, if you had a daughter out of that age, a choice? How do you feel about that?
So we know that it's obligatory, but what I would do is instill it in her from childhood, so make her fall in love with hijab, make her fall in love with Islam, you know, help her realize the importance of hijab. And if she's seen you grow up with hijab on, she's seen her aunties and her cousins all wearing hijab, most likely she will do it.
It'll be the norm.
Yeah, but I think it's more the way you go about it. If you are really strict and you like really harsh with her, she's most likely not going to want to do it, or she's probably doing it just because you're being really harsh with her. Whereas if you do it in a gentle and like loving manner, then, you know, most of the time she will fall in love with the hijab, and I think that's important.
And I think it's very important to stress here, those are people who are not of faith. They often say, well, why are you instilling it in her? Why are you forcing your views on her? Everybody should have their own opinion. But realistically, a child, regardless to faith, background or gender, if there's something that's wrong or right within your faith, as parents, you will obviously encourage them towards the things that are part of your faith. That is something, regardless of what the faith is. I had a friend of mine, and she was Hindu, and there's certain things within her culture that since she was young, she just said her parents used to really tell her to do. Likewise with my Christian friends, right? Because that is faith. And sometimes we've come into a society where it's so much emphasis is given on freedom Yes, you are free, but if you're part of a faith group and you're a child, unless your parents teach you, you won't know your faith. Then as an adult, if you choose not to follow that faith or not to do the things, it is your freedom. But obviously as parents, like to me, if I had a daughter, which I don't, I do feel that I would feel it's my responsibility to relay all the information to her. And then if she does it or doesn't do it, that's her choice. But for me, I wouldn't want to give her that choice of just do whatever you want. Because if I see my child walking towards something which is dangerous or something that I don't like, naturally as a parent, it's a parent's instinct to guide her. Right? So I think that's really important to say, because sometimes, you know, when we're speaking, people say, well, why do you want to teach your children? Let them learn themselves. But when a child is being potty trained, you don't just say, let them learn themselves. You know, for instance, you know, you show them how to do it.
With anything in life.
And then at the end of the day, whether they want to or not, that's down to them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you lay that foundation and you instill like Islam in them, it'll be with them forever. And like, even if they do go through rough patches, because you've put it in them, they will always somehow go back to Islam. They will try and find that peace in this dunya, and they'll keep looking, and they'll go back to their salah, they'll go back to religion. So just remember that. So we just got followers saying, yes, guidance is very important. I agree.
Okay. And, you know, like you spoke a bit, I just want to home in on the fact that it was your choice. But then after you did it, did you come across like, that was when you were very young. So you were like, what, in secondary school? You just started secondary school?
About year 8, I think.
Yeah, right. So then did you find any struggles through going to school and like, you know, like were there times where you felt, I really just don't want to do this?
I think especially at weddings. I think, you know, when everyone around me doing their hair and, you know, looking really nice with their hair styled and all that. I think I was really tempted to just like at weddings, you know, just take my scarf up and do my hair nicely. So I think that was a bit of a struggle. Again, even like when I used to go to the hairdressers, actually even now, like sometimes when I've had a fresh haircut and you've dyed your hair, you know, you just wanna show everybody, don't you? But then that's just like shaitan talking to you, and then you kind of go back to reality. You're like, no, actually, my hijab is more important.
And sometimes you say it's about you want to show everybody, but sometimes it's just you feel good in yourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know, Maimoona, I've got to a point that I've been wearing it for so long that I actually feel as if I know this may seem really weird, but as if I've not got my clothes on. You know, I feel like, oh my God, and I don't feel comfortable.
I agree.
When I was young, everybody used to say to me, my best feature was my hair. And I just thought, for me, it was a massive sacrifice, right? Because it was like everybody, because I actually had comments like, yeah, but you don't look nice without your hair. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. Anyway, like that. But these were people who were very close to me and who loved me, right? So they weren't doing it to be mean, and they didn't say it as meanly, but they were just, you know, in a nice sort of way. And then I used to get a lot of comments from older like aunts and things that if you put a hijab on, you're only going to get a Maulana who will marry you or an alim because you look really religious. Because although we are Muslims, at that time we were very cultural. And it's really funny like how you said about weddings. See, most people, when you talk about hijab and struggle, people will think, oh, it must be at school, it must be with friends. But actually you said no, at weddings. Now weddings is aunts, cousins. So you know, it's like we almost tuned to be like, you got to look the best when you go to a wedding, right? and you know, and then I used to get all these comments like, oh my God, nobody's going to marry you, you look like an Abba. You know, I used to get things. And I was just like, subhanallah.
So how did you start wearing hijab? Like, what made you wear it?
I'm not as good as you. I didn't wear it at 11. I wore it like when I was about 20, 21, I think it was. We were brought up in a family where, alhamdulillah, there was a lot of deen in house. My mom, mashallah, was so good. And she always wanted to wear hijab. But you know our society, our community, it wasn't the norm at all. At that time, none of my aunts or cousins used to wear it. Today, mashallah, I think there's just one in my entire family who doesn't. But at that time, there was nobody, right? And what happened is September the 11th happened, and I used to go on the tube to Westminster Uni, which is on Regent Street, right? So it's like 1.5 hour tube and train from because I was commuting. And every time I got in the train, everybody would be a bit hostile towards women with scarves and beards, and I could see them panicking. So my story is a bit different,
Yeah.
right? And I could see them feeling uncomfortable. And the thing is, I myself felt, hang on, something bad has happened. A group of bad people have done it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's got anything to do with their faith. And I don't think it's fair to stigmatize a whole faith community
Yeah.
based on that one incident, right? And I appreciate that a lot of lives were taken, but they were taken by people that were bad people.
Yeah, and they want like
Yeah.
Muslims, really.
Yeah, but that's debatable. But whether
Yeah.
they were Muslim or they weren't Muslim, the point was no religion, and especially not Islam, condones killing innocent people.
Yeah.
Likewise, going to a country and massacring the whole country, it doesn't condone either. So there's a lot of bad in the world, and there's a lot of wrong. Some as politics, some as like things like words like terrorism. But at the end of the day, I am a Muslim, and I see a Muslim woman, a young Muslim woman, and this is what really triggered me off. I was on a train, and I had my hair out, and it was a nice sunny day like today, and I had my shades on, and I put them up. I was standing on a train, and there was this 2-3 group of like youngsters, and they all smiled at me, and they looked really friendly and really nice, right? Yeah. Then comes in this young hijabi lady with a little boy and a little girl. She's a mother, right? She could be one of my elder cousins at that time. She comes in and she sits down, and they started making these horrible marks towards her, and you could see her getting scared, right?
Yeah.
Then you see this young boy who comes in with a beard and a topi, right? And they started making comments towards him, and he must have been about 13, 14, skinny little lad.
Yeah.
And to me, that was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them. I am a Muslim,
Yeah.
right? But at first they were smiling and really being nice to me because I had like jeans on, I had a like baggy top on, I had my hair out.
Yeah.
And at that point, I felt disgusted because I thought, that's not right. That is injustice within my visibility. I am a Muslim. I'm proud to be a Muslim. I don't want to hide. Then I saw, the boy, it brought tears to my eyes. And now, because I've got boys that age, when I think back, he sort of like, he sort of shriveled into the shadow of this man at the side of the tube behind. And he sort of took off his topi and he put it in his pocket, right? And I thought, my Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has got a beautiful religion, and it's of peace, and it's of love, and it's of unity, and it's of kindness. I am proud to be Muslim.
Yeah.
And that boy was obviously proud to be Muslim, but then he was made to feel that his religion was wrong.
Yeah.
And I was older than him. I was like his older sister on that train.
Yeah.
And I could not see that. I thought,
Yeah.
I am not giving unity. So the next day I put on the scarf, and and it was really sweet because my dad and my older brother, and they're quite big and they're both 6 foot tall, they're like, no, you know what? We're worried about your safety, right? You're going on the tube. What if someone does something? I said, if somebody does anything to me because of my faith, I will be proud, but I'm not going to hide my faith.
Yeah. And
you could tell in a way that you could see that they were all they felt worried about me, but I think they felt proud.
Yeah.
And my mum was really like, oh, mashallah,
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were like, well, could you not just do it in the evening, not when you go on the train? and then I just thought, do you know what, Allah? I want everybody to know I'm a Muslim because my religion is something I'm so proud of, right? So that's how I started.
Wow, that is such a good story, mashallah. Listeners that are listening, you can text in onto 077 488 55055, or join in on my live on Instagram _myspiritualsoul. You're more than welcome to join our conversation, say any comments, share your stories. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, but Maimoona, I think it's very important for one thing. When I wore a hijab, I had a group of friends, and slowly I started noticing a lot of the friends started behaving and saying, well, you're quite religious now. And there were some people that were really close to me who distanced themselves. And actually, we had a group of friends that were, when you go to university, you got like the Asian group, right?
Yeah.
So they were brothers and sisters. We didn't particularly flirt or anything like that. We're just a group, right? We used to do work together. We used to, in the libraries, this and that. All the boys sort of distanced themselves. But I found that as a barakah, and I thought Allah accepted my hijab.
Yeah,
right?
It's like the respect, it changes as soon as you got a hijab on.
But when you're 21,
Yeah.
Because I was really focused and I was like, but what I'm saying is, to some females that can be a struggle, because if suddenly everybody distance yourself. It's your network of people who know you, and friends are really important at that age. You know, when you're at uni, college, and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
They're like your people.
Yeah.
Right? So when people really close to you started brushing you off a bit, starting being busy a bit, they're acting a bit like, oh, what's wrong with her? She's going through a phase. She's becoming extreme, and it was almost like they were being more discriminative than my
other people.
Yeah, other people of other faiths or colours. It was almost my close friends.
Yeah.
So I really, really found that hard. I really found that hard because I love people, I love friends, and you're thinking, I've only put a hijab on, I'm still the same Shifa.
Yeah. Oh.
So it was really difficult.
I think if any Muslimah is going through that, you need to remember that this hijab that you put on is for Allah, and because you've done it for Allah, you know, Allah will not wrong you. He will always bring good back into your life. So if for you know, this point in your life you are losing friends, you know, that is hard for anyone to deal with, but just keep reminding yourself that you're doing this for Allah, and you know, inshallah, in a few years some blessings will come into your life and you'll think, why has this blessing come into my life? But that's actually because you've put your hijab on. So
yeah, Maimoona, I'm a living example because mine was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So now looking back, actually what happened is when some people distanced themselves, those gaps were filled with other people.
Yeah.
And these people were very inspiring. Some of them looked Islamic, but they weren't particularly very Islamic, right? Which made me think, hang on, you wear the dress code, but you know things like like one day, I'll just give you an example, right?
Yeah.
We were sitting outside the prayer room waiting to go in because the brothers were doing the Jummah. Now, for people who are non-Muslims that may be listening, if there's a group of men praying and the room is full, usually the ladies do wait until the men come out so they could go in. And a Jummah is a congregation, a group of people. So we were waiting for them to come out. So there was 3 or 4 women that I didn't know very well, sisters. But because I had just started wearing the hijab, even though it wasn't just hijab, we used to go to pray like our Jummahs anyway, right? So this wasn't a Jummah actually, it was another day for Zuhur. I was waiting, so it wasn't so busy. And I was sitting next to 3 girls who not only had hijab on, 2 of them actually had niqab, the facing cover. And a young girl came and she had her hair out and she just took a scarf off and she was putting it on, and then she went over there. And they were going to have a talk the next day, a group. So they had leaflets. I said, oh, should I give her a leaflet? Because I was really excited because that would have been me a week ago.
Yeah.
And they said to me, oh, no. She's not really like us. She's not one of us. And I looked at them, double taking, what do they mean?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because that's when I thought to myself, just looking religious doesn't mean that you're pious.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't mean. Now, just recently I heard a talk with Maulana Tariq Jamil.
Yeah.
And the word he used was takabur.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's arrogance. And he goes, the religious people, the way shaitan will deceive them, he won't be able to distract them with the dunya, and they won't be able to delude them with the love of the dunya. So what he will put in them is slowly, a little seed of we are better, we are pious, we are righteous, we are the people of the right hand. And slowly that seeps like an underlayer, and then it grows. Arrogance.
Yeah.
And that is probably the worst type of sin, because that is what shaitan had.
Yeah.
He said, Ya Allah, why should I bow to Adam, who is made of mud, and I am made of a better source?
Yeah.
Right. So he thought, because actually one thing I didn't know about shaitan is for prior to this incident, he was actually one of the very chosen ones that was amongst the best of the people, or not the people, but the creations of Allah.
Yeah.
He was very close to Allah. He was very senior. So if you've got like this general who thinks, well, oh yeah, I'm powerful, which you do in the world, they look at people below them as lesser beings or lesser creations. And when I was sitting there, that's when I thought to myself, religion is not cloth, right? So there might be some girls who don't do hijab,
but they might be amazing inside.
Yeah,
like
and that's what Allah can see.
Yeah.
Because there are other sins that we do, and one of them, which is one of the biggest sins that we just think is normal, is backbiting, ghibah. Right?
Yeah.
Now, every person on the face of this earth at some point does ghibah.
Yeah.
Right? You may do it unintentionally sometimes, but then you do, like the amount of times I was sat there and people say, I'm not doing ghibah, and blah, 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 blah. And then they say, Allah maaf kare, which is Allah forgive me.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're doing it.
But it's so bad, up to the point that it's like eating the flesh of your brother. Now, it's not actually eating the flesh, but that's the example.
Yeah.
That like, who would eat the flesh of any human being, let alone your brother?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes we judge people on how they look in appearance, but like wearing hijab is a big thing for a person because outwardly they're saying they're Muslim. So
you need to be inwardly Muslim. Anyway, I've already got to 24 minutes.
Okay.
So let's just end with a tip each,
Yeah,
and
go
then inshallah we can move on to our next topic.
Okay. You go first.
Lisha's going to do that. So my tip is that you will have off days. Just keep going. If you've got it in your heart that you want to wear hijab, this is the right time to start. Like Ramadan is always the best time. And just see how it goes. And even if you do have a day where you take it off, it's okay. You know, put it back on. It's fine. You're doing it with the right intention, so Allah will get you through it. And like I'm sure we can both say, like now I cannot imagine myself without hijab. Like it's part of me.
Definitely.
So yeah,
that's a really good tip. Okay, that's a hard one to beat. You said everything there. No, actually, no. Something's just come to me. Okay, I heard this thing a couple of days ago, and they said if there's something you're finding difficult, and the example they gave was salah, right? They said, pull yourself to salah, force yourself to do it because it's the right thing to do, and one day that salah will then be pulling you. So likewise with hijab, I do think force yourself because it's something right. Don't let anybody else force you. You force yourself, but make your niyyah. Ya Allah, I am doing this for you, right? You have said that keep the dunya somewhere, like if you've got a boat, right? Let the water stay outside the boat. Let it not come into you. So the dunya is the same. Yes, if you like your hair out, there's so many, like they got the sister souk this Saturday we were just talking about. It's only going to be females, right? So there's places like that. Although I'm not 100%, there might be something else. But I think, but they are like in Leicester. We're so lucky because they have female dinners.
Well, like even
parties.
like when there is weddings and stuff, you have
the
like mehendi where there's mostly all the ladies or in the house.
So you can style your hair. And actually, when I get home, I do my hair nicely. Not for anybody else, but for myself because sometimes it makes you feel nice.
Yeah.
But there are times after you've had children, sometimes you don't have the energy.
Not even after you've had children. I'd say before.
Yeah. So you know what? I do think pull yourself to what's right and do it for yourself and Allah, for the creation, for your love for Allah. Do not do it for anybody, and inshallah, Allah will make it easy.
Yeah,
because Allah says, if you come to me one step, I will come towards you 70 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was hijab. Now, following on from that, you really wanted to discuss this because Maimoona, I would say she falls into this category, although she said she's a bit moving on from that category, but I would say she's a young Muslimah.
Like the middle.
She's a young Muslimah. She's a professional Muslimah. She's just finished her studies. So she wanted to talk about the struggles the young Muslims have.
Yep.
Now, there's 3 things that she asked me to sort of touch on. So the first thing that she said was friends. So do you want to sort of elaborate on that, why you wanted that?
So I think when you get to your teenage years, your friends become everything. Like when you're young, it's all about your mom, your dad, your aunties, your uncles, all about that. As soon as you get to secondary, your friends become your life. Like they're part of your day. Even when you go home, you're calling them. Like they're part of you. And so much of who you become is because of your friends. And you are who your friends are. Like I feel like that's just a quote I said that, who your friends are reflects you and who you are reflects your friends. So I think growing up, that is really important to keep in mind that, who are you becoming friends with? Is this person going to get you to Jannah? Is this person going to be a good influence on you? Because I think in this day in society, there's so much out there, there's so much going on that is not part of our religion. But you could be peer pressured into it. Even if you don't want to do it, if your friends are doing it, you're going to do it because you don't want to. At that age, you don't want to feel left out. You don't want to be odd one out. Unless you have a really, really strong character where you can put your opinion out there. But most of the time, you want to do what your friends are doing.
Definitely. The couple of things that come to mind when you're saying that is the example, which is a very famous example, which I think everybody's heard of, is if you go into a perfume shop, because your surroundings are beautiful smells, you will come out smelling nice.
Yeah.
If you go and hang around maybe a rubbish yard, you will come away stinking.
Yeah.
So whether you actually touch the perfume or you touch the rubbish doesn't matter. The fact that you're in that environment, you will take something away from it.
Definitely.
in Asian culture, when you're young, there's one thing that parents always say, which just came into my mind. They say, "Insan sangat jeroito," right? So a human being is like what their companion is, which is what you just said. Companion meaning friendship.
Yeah.
Now, our prime example that we should always look at in life is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And who are the people that were around him? They, prior to being Muslims, they were noble men anyway.
Yeah.
Hazrat Umar was very well reputable. You know, his word meant everything, right? He would not turn back from his word. Hazrat Abu Bakr was generous. He was kind.
Yeah.
They all had good characteristics.
Yeah.
Faith, Allah guided them because they had those characteristics. So they were the best amongst the best. Now, I've got a son, and I've just noticed he's probably about, no, he's not probably, he's 12, just going on to 13. And he went to a predominantly white school. Yeah. And mashallah, the children are really well behaved, right? Really well behaved. So he gets good manners, politeness, everything from them. Then he started a religious faith-based school. Yeah. And mashallah, the teachers and everything, they're really embedding like a polite attitude and like that. But the friends themselves are quite rough. And I've noticed when he's with his friends from school, he's very polite and calm. But, you know, he won't really have the confidence to say, I need to go and pray. Whereas with these friends, he'll say, I'm going to go and pray, but they're quite rough. So it's very important to find a balance.
Yeah. And I think also, like, currently, like, when I was at school, so probably about, 8-9 years ago, probably, I'd say, like, for the generation before me, maybe smoking was probably a big problem in schools. Yeah. But I think once I started, I noticed that drugs was a big problem. Really? Yeah. So, like, in secondary school especially, like...
I'm always in denial about that.
Yeah. And I wish we could be, but it's the reality. That, you know, I feel like a lot of youngsters are surrounded by that drug environment, that smoking environment.
There's a lot of peer pressure to try drugs.
Let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. And, you know, a lot of the time, youngsters, they try it and they move on from it. But there's some youngsters that get stuck into it. And then that's where you find the problem, because you're so stuck into this drug that you're finding it hard to get out. And you were in there in the first place because of your friends, because you're following what your friends do, and somehow those friends have moved on, but now you find that you're stuck.
You're in there. But Maimoona, it's really important to understand, you know, when you're at that age, looking back now, those friends are not going to be there for life.
Definitely.
But if you get a drug habit, that may be there for life. Yeah. Now, some of the friends may be there for life, because I know there's some friends I've had for years and years and years. But you know, they're the sort of friends that wouldn't have expected me to do that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Whatever it was. Yeah. In our time, I think it was more smoking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah. But they never did expect me to. Yeah. Right? They just didn't. And I think we came from a thing where I was the only Asian in my whole high school, in my year. And it was like, everybody else does it, we don't. So we had that. But when you're in an environment where your Muslim friends and people that look like yourself are doing it, you sort of think, actually, it's okay, they're doing it, I can do it. Right?
I'll be fine.
I'll be fine. But there are a lot of people that are not fine. Yeah. Whereas if you're hanging around with a group of people who are like, should we just go and do salah? You know, whether you want to or not, you'll just go, and then you might form that habit. Yeah. So forming habits is something very important.
Definitely. Even things like haram relationships. I think that's become such a norm. Like now it's like, oh, you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a girlfriend, what's wrong with you, kind of thing. Really? So I think even that, like, even if your friends are in haram relationships, you still remind yourself that, you know what, I want to stay on the right path. You know, at that age, relationships are not important. I'm telling you now, like, it's all, what is important is your education and building yourself as a Muslimah and a woman. Yeah. In this day and age.
You know, the young sisters that are listening out there, you may think, okay, they sound old. You know, when we were your age, when we were told things like that, we did think, you don't understand. You don't get it. You're not there. You know what? You guys are boring. You're old, right? But when you become older, the amount of friends have said to me that, Shifa, we really wish that we were more strict. Shifa, we really wish we saved ourselves. Shifa, all those things that we accumulated that we didn't get anything out of. Because let's be honest with you, at that age, you yourself are still finding out your things and that what you want out of life, what sort of partner you want, and you don't really know. And then if you think, well, let me experience things and try things, by the time you realize that it wasn't worth it, it's too late.
Yeah.
So just give yourself a little time to grow up. Don't rush to grow up, because the thing
Focus
is,
on yourself.
Yeah, focus on yourself and just enjoy your life at that age without having the pressures of growing up. Because once you're old, trust me, you can't go back.
Trust me. I've started work and I just want to go back.
Okay, so that's a bit on friends and how they have an impact on you as a person, right? But the other thing that you said was parents. Now, what did you mean? What did you want to talk about, like, with parents?
I think it's important how you are as a parent. I think when your children are growing up, you lay your foundation, and your children will know what's right, what's wrong, what their parents' boundaries are. But I think once they start to enter the teenage phase, I think it's important to become like a friend for your child.
True.
I think because you want your house to be their safe place. You don't want anyone else's house or any boy or girl or drugs or alcohol or anything else to be their safe place. You want their mom and dad to be their safe place. You want them to come home if they're worried, if they're upset. You want them to come and tell you and know that, my mom's not going to shout at me, my dad's not going to shout at me, they're going to support me and give me the right advice. Or even if they do mess up, which they might, it's fine, it's normal, they know that they can go home and, they might be scared, but they'll be able to tell you. Because I feel like sometimes if you're too strict, you will start to push. I have seen it so many times. You will push them away. And they will feel like, you know what, actually, I can't go home and tell my mom and dad. I can't.
They don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it. What's the point? Or, you know what, they're so strict on me. My friends' parents let me do this, but I can't do this, so forget it. I'm just going to do it myself without telling them.
So as parents, do you think that would make a difference to these youngsters in their confidence in their day-to-day lives?
Definitely. I think you need to find that balance of, yes, have your rules and, let them know what's right, what's wrong, but be a friend. Don't be so harsh on them, like just understand that it is, I know as adults we have our hardships, but youngsters also have hardships, and they might seem small to us, but at that moment in your life, it's actually a big thing.
If you notice, the majority of youngsters, especially females, that go off the right path and go the wrong way, is because they're misunderstood. They'll often say, nobody gets me, or they don't understand, or I feel isolated, or they feel, it's crazy, but sometimes the most big families, and the child will say, I feel unloved. And then they go to other areas looking for love, right? And then as adults, you think, for God's sake, there's people, because a lot, I've heard this, friends my age, so they'll say, they get food, they get water, they get education, they just spoil. What do they mean love? Have we not shown them love? But I think it's very important to understand that, what you just said about friendship, right? Yeah. There's a fine line, Maimoona, because being a mother, right? Sometimes when you're friends, your children lose the respect barrier, and they're like, like the other day, one of my cousins said to me, her son's, he's bigger than her, and he just sort of like pushed her, right? Thinking it's funny, like that. And she goes, I thought my son hit me, and she started crying, right? And then when she actually spoke to me, he was like, no, Mum, I was just playing around with you. Yeah. And then the sister said, no, you hit Mum. And then she goes, the way you hit me. And then they started arguing, and it was all not about, and the mum said, I was sitting there, and then they started arguing. And then the language they use, they think it's okay to use in front of me because they think we're friends. Yeah. So it's very, very important to understand as a parent is finding that boundary. Yeah. So I think children need to know they need to respect their parents, and a certain level of strictness does have to be there, but I think it needs to be, the manner is very important. Yeah. Like, look, often I'll say to my children, I'll say, guys, I really, really love you, and I'm trying to help you, but you've got to really help me here because I'm a human being. Yeah. And one thing I think is really important, which I think our past generations didn't do, and I read this in the Rabia book, which is the upbringing of children, and what it said is it's very important that when you do things wrong, you say sorry. Yeah. Because you're teaching your children from a young age, it's okay to do things wrong and it's okay to be sorry. Yeah. Right? Yeah. At the same time, if you're doing something which is not faith-based, see, in the olden days, like if my dad said to me, we don't do this. Mm-hmm. Now my dad could be doing it 24/7. If he's told me we don't do this, that means us guys don't do it. Yeah. Right? None of us would dare to say, yeah, but you're doing it. Right? Whereas nowadays, kids will be, but you're doing it. and you're like, okay, like that. So I often tell my children that we are human beings, but the wrongs we're doing that might be our habits, I am trying to change.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to have that from a young age.
Yeah.
So don't judge me, because Allah will judge me.
Yeah.
Right? Help me. I'm your mum. Just like
Yeah.
you need help, I need
Explain
help.
to them why
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
Or,
But growing
Yeah.
up, I do say to them, look, guys, if there is anything you need to tell me, I might be sad or upset, but more than anything, if I've taught you what's right and you do something, you'll hurt me.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I love you, and
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot of love into you so that you love me and respect me and trust me. But
Yeah.
if you don't trust me, I'll have nobody.
Yeah.
And sometimes, putting that element of how important they are
Yeah.
to you.
Instilling it in
Yeah,
them.
and
Yeah.
I think, like, look, my son did something, and he goes, Mom, I'm more embarrassed, I'm more ashamed,
Oh.
right? So it wasn't like that's why he didn't want me to know, right? But I was happy. I was like, yes, because it's from a young age embedding them to have their own conscience, and it's not just us. I think it's very important to 24/7 remind them that Allah loves you.
Yeah.
Allah has given you
Yeah.
this. There are children in the world that don't have this that you have.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're going to focus on haram relationships, smoking, drugs, that's your nafs, right? There are children like you halfway around the world that have nothing, but yet they go and pray Jama'ah and they thank Allah for what Allah has given them. You are going to be compared to them on the Day of Judgment. Where will you hide when Allah says to you, and I take their names when I speak to them, so Ishaq or Idris, I'll say, Ishaq, Idris, when Allah says, Ishaq, did you not know me? Did no one teach you about me?
Yeah.
Did you not think I loved you?
Yeah.
Why did you want the love of a non-relationship that was haram? Why did you need that?
Yeah.
I had saved something for you in a pure religion that would, in a pure time, that you would get reward for.
At the right time. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are things I think parents really, really try and understand your children,
Yeah,
but children try
definitely.
and understand your parents.
Yeah.
It's
The
not
balance,
easy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think obviously I'm not a parent myself, but parenthood is hard, and you're not going to be perfect and you're not going to get it 100% right, but the main thing is you try and you love your children and you do what's best for your children. And I think it's important to, from a young age, instill Islam into them.
Maimoona, we've got 7 minutes
I know,
left.
I was just looking at that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I think
Okay.
it's important to instill, so I'm going on to our next topic now, but I think it's important to instill Islam into them, like from when they're young. Tell them about Salah, show them that you're praying Salah, tell them to join in.
Live by example.
Yeah, live by example, but
Yeah.
make it exciting. Give them reward charts, give them
Yeah.
stickers for it, give them little prizes for it, so that they fall in love with Islam.
It's funny you said that, because somebody said to me, like, if your child fasts 29 or 30 roses, you give them a gift,
Yeah.
but surely you're bribing them. And I said, no.
No, you're
Our children
encouraging
are
them.
like us,
Yeah.
right? We are human beings, right?
Yeah.
If you do something good, yes, we are going to get it, inshallah, from Allah. Allah has promised us, there's no doubt about it. But we are impatient, right? So sometimes if you think, well, if I do this, I can have this. Like, for instance, if you diet for 30 days, you can have a good figure. I'm just giving an example
Yeah.
to all those people trying to lose weight. But you could be healthy, not even good figure, but you could be healthy, right? So when you work hard, you want a reward quickly. That's how insan is created. So if you slowly nurture your child whilst they're growing up, that actually if you do something good, you'll get something good.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in a bribe format, but just your parents
Yeah.
are pleased with you. But like what you said, maybe take them for an ice cream,
Yeah.
maybe save an Eid present that they've been wanting all year,
Yeah.
things like that. So, they get the love of Islam
Excited.
from a young age,
Yeah.
and they see the fruits of what they're doing. And as they grow up, they'll realize, well, actually the fruits aren't here anymore. Like us
They're
as
in Jannah.
adults,
Yeah.
your patience level gets more tolerable when you're older,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The last topic we did want to discuss was young Muslims and getting the work-home life balance, but I don't think we'll really be able to go that in depth.
Yeah.
So inshallah, we'll have to save that for another time.
Yeah.
But do you want to just, because we want to give justice to this topic, so about Iman and Salah, is there any couple of things that you want to say about that that's important for young Muslims out there?
So I think just remember that, like, I read this hadith and it said that when we're on the Day of Judgment and we're all resurrected and we're waiting on the in the plain of Arafah, obviously the sun will be so close to us. It'll be only like a mile off. It'll be hot. Like we're feeling hot today. That day will be like burning.
Yeah.
And there's certain type of people that will be protected from that heat. One person that will be is the young person that used to worship. the young person that used to spend their teenage years close to Allah. So just remember that if you're a young Muslim, keep that in your mind, that you know what, Allah has me, Allah's got me, I'm fine, and I will get through any hardships if I stay close with my iman. And the key factor there is start praying your salah. And once you start, never leave it. Even if like on your down days where your iman is so low, or that shaitan or your nafs is getting to you so much that you just can't even get out of your bed and pray 4 farz at least. Pray your farz namaz, because once you start praying, even if you miss a salah, you will know you've missed that salah, because you'll start to feel guilty, or you'll feel something's not right.
Connection.
Yeah, because salah has become such a habit. And I'm telling you now from my own experiences, in your bad days, in your hardships, even if no one's there for you, Allah will be there for you. And you make that one sujood, you make that one dua, Allah will put peace into your heart. So just remember that.
A sister told me once, she said to me that, if you feel like you need to tell someone who understands, who knows, who sees, who hears, she goes, salah is that. But because it's in Arabic, often we don't have the kushush, a kushush connection. And she said, but this is where you have to make effort for that connection. So when you sit in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after you've prayed your salah, quietly just close your eyes and say, Allah, I love you. I love you. Please love me. Make it easy for me. Allah says not one thing can be done without my help, and not one thing you can refrain from is without my protection. Always ask for those 2 things. Allah, protect me from what you don't want from me, and Allah, help me to become closer to you. And instill your love in my heart, because I know you love me. I know you're there for me. And as a youngster, sometimes it's like, yeah, cliche, they keep going on about this. But once you get that connection, I tell you, nothing, you almost come invincible. Whether people are there or whether people, when they come, you're happy. When they go, you're sad, but then you say, Allah, it's from you, subhanallah. And you get on with it, and you move on. And Allah always fulfills the empty space in your life. Somebody once said to me, don't you feel scared? Don't you feel alone? And I just closed my eyes and I thought, Allah's got me. I wish one day. Okay. But there are days where you do feel that actually, oh my God, it's dark, and you get on your musalla and you close your eyes, and again, Allah puts that warmth within you. Definitely. Anyway, Maimoona, we've got 2 minutes left. We were told to announce this, which we haven't done, so I might get in trouble, so I'm going to quickly do it. Radio Ramadan have set up a Just Giving page for fundraising. It's an amazing cause. It's for the Children's Hospital. They're raising money for Eid gifts. So people who will be spending time in hospital. So the thing is, there's a lot of little young, gorgeous children, and they've got all sorts of illnesses. Alhamdulillah, we live in a country where we do have the NHS. And Leicester Hospital Charity. So we've got a Just Giving page. So if you go to that 87.7, yes, we give charity abroad. Yes, we give charity for water, food packages. It's all very, very important. But also there's some little gorgeous children here, and it's nice for them to get an Eid gift when they're in hospital.
I think we spoil our kids so much that, just give, even if it's a little present, I'm sure they'll be happy with it.
It is. Sometimes it's like, when you're not expecting anything and you get something, it's so sweet.
It makes you more happy, actually.
It does.
There's a lot of people joining on my Instagram currently. Unfortunately, we're nearly finished now. We've only got a minute left of our show, but it will be recorded. It'll be on my Instagram page if you want to go back and watch. The topics that we covered was hijab, and we also covered life of a young Muslimah.
The struggles.
The struggles.
Next week, just so to let you guys have a little insight, we're going to, inshallah, this one is my favorite one, right? We're going to be discussing inspirational sisters. Now, there's a lot of stories that we've heard about the Sahabas and their counterparts, like the Prophet ﷺ's wives and daughters, and there's so many women like that, but there's also so many that are unheard of. So, like in the counterparts, you've got Harun Rashid, you've got Salahuddin, you've got people like that. You've got so many women like that, and I whenever I read them, it's so exciting because they're very inspirational. And we're going to be covering that topic. So if there's any particular sister that you know about,
or a nice story that you've heard, then please.
And there's so many hero sisters in this day and age, right? So if somebody wants to give a shout out or anything,
or just message me on my Instagram _myspiritualsoul.
Okay, just one thing to remember: if there's anything good we've said, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if there's anything wrong we've said, please forgive us. Jazakallah.
Please do, guys. I hope that you found our talk inspirational. I hope somehow it's benefited you and it's been interesting.
And inshallah, join us next week. We're hopefully going to be going into